Hi, everyone. What a great day to be here. And thank you, UST team, for bringing in great weather. I'm very honored to be here today to represent AWS and to share with you all insights around generative AI, the work that we've done in the last few years, helping a number of our customers get through the journey from proof of concepts to production, but most importantly, realizing the value of their investments. And before I go further, let's take a step back and look at generative AI through the years. And it's very odd that actually I'm talking about a relatively new trend, a technology that is still nascent, has trends over the years. But this also shows how quickly the landscape is changing. 2023 was the year of proof of concepts. A lot of organizations wanted to make sense of this technology, wanted to understand how it fits within their organization. What are the use cases we should be working on? So they worked on a number of use cases. And 2024 was the year of production, only for a few. Those that have figured out how to integrate the technology within their organizations, who understood what use cases they wanted to focus on, were able to move to production. And 2025, this year, they call it Age of Agentic AI, Year of Agentic AI. Everybody is talking about agents. At board level, there are questions around what is the ROI for my investments? Is Gen AI hype or is it real? Show me the money. And also, there are a lot of discussions around how do we go broad and deep, and how do we scale within our organizations? So these are some of the questions that are quite important to understand, but also throughout the presentation today, you may want to think about where your organization is and what you can do to move from proof of concepts to production to realizing that value and embracing agentic AI. There are a lot of investments going into AI from CIOs and CDOs. We are indeed living in an age of excitement. Gen AI has turbocharged conversations, culture, but the great thing about this is it is also shining a light on importance of data. And that investments are also increasing because any data scientist here, you'd say, garbage in, garbage out. There's no Gen AI or AI without good data. But also, there are a lot of organizations that have peaked with Gen AI expectations and now going through a trough of disillusionment. And that's because data, DevOps, security, as it mattered in the age of ML, AI, is still very relevant today. Every organization wants to use Gen AI to transform customer experiences. They want to improve business productivity through automation. And they also want to improve employee productivity through a number of internal Gen AI tools. But they really struggle to see how they can get value out of those proof of concepts, but also struggle to scale those experiments at enterprise level. So this is a very real problem. And this is panning out across every industry. And so let's put that aside, because while we have to keep up with changing pace of technology, the real important thing is also that you have to focus on your data estate, your foundations, otherwise you can't keep up. But then at this second lens is that this technology is not waiting, it is progressing. The future is here today. It is all about agentic AI. How can you optimize your business processes? How can you turbocharge the experiences of your customers? But also with that, there are a number of questions around cost-efficient AI. So when conversations we have with customers, the questions revolve around what models do I use? Can small language models deliver the same value as the large language models? How can I get better performance for the cost? Where do I find that trade-off? But also, are there any frameworks? so I can manage my AI budgets without stifling innovation. So that is going to be a huge trend this year about cost-efficient AI. And then there is this whole ambition about scaling Gen AI across the enterprise. Organizations are looking at platforms so that they can incorporate reusable design patterns like RAG applications or agentic orchestration. So a common platform where various departments can leverage and build their proof of concepts and scale. So there is a significant leverage that technology can provide. And last but not the least, there's still a emphasis on AI policies and standards, especially with the EU AI Act. And to build any AI system or AI engine without trust is not going to get any adoption. So the key here is also to focus on the standards, to meet the regulations and safety guidelines. So these are some of the key trends that are shaping Gen AI. So we have to look into what we have in the organization from our data estate and what the trends are. How do you balance both innovation at the same time with foundation elements? At Amazon, Gen AI is also one of the core driving factors for innovation. And AI and ML is at the DNA of Amazon for innovation. And we've been doing this for over 25 years, and we've learned a thing or two. And Gen AI is just the next iteration of that technology. And not only do we support our customers in their AI and Gen AI journey, we also apply these within our organization. As you've seen, we have a Rufus app that is leveraging all of Amazon's product catalogs, reviews, and it generates a conversational experience to Amazon users. Similarly, now we also have Gen AI-powered summaries about the products that you want to buy. It just looks at all the reviews, gives you a sentiment as well as the summary, so your purchasing experience is quicker. And also Amazon Pharmacy, using Gen AI to convert unstructured data into structured data. So guiding our customers, doing the innovation, we have few lessons about this journey that I'd like to share. But mostly I summarize those in 3 categories. As I've been talking, data foundations, that is important. And the second one is the focus on business value. And third, of course, we cannot escape the hype or the reality of agentic AI. But the way that I look at agentic AI is that to combine that with strategically human collaboration, human in the loop, and that's when you can leverage the real power of technology. So it cannot be a technology on its own. So we need to bring that human in the loop element to agentic AI. So I'll focus on data foundations. Your data is the differentiator. We all know LLMs are trained on vast body collective knowledge of the internet. So if there is a difference between an application that is built using a generic LLM versus an application that is built using your data, the data that knows your organization, the data that knows your customers, and the data that speaks the tone of your brand. And that's where there is a real differentiation. But most of the companies that we talk to about Gen AI, conversations always revolve around LLMs or foundation models. But generative AI is just the top layer. It's just the tip of the iceberg. And there is more than what meets the eye. Because for the LLMs or the Gen AI applications to deliver the best user experience, they need to be talking to the operational databases. That's where your customer data, that's where your business data sits. They need to be interacting either with real-time data, batch data, whatever data that is important for that application. There needs to be those data pipelines. There needs to be some sort of transformations that are required to maintain and protect that data quality, which is quite important. And of course, the whole layer of security in privacy, which is quite important, especially in building reliable AI products. So it's not just the surface, it's really those foundations. And I cannot stress enough how many organizations that we worked with started on their AI journey, and just because they did not have strong data foundations, were unable to scale. So, going back to the board, right? How do we build a modern data strategy? How do we empower an organization with strong data platforms? So it comes back again to the basics. But this is not a story. I've been in a data industry for over a decade, and the story was the same then. The story is still the same. So that is the focus on the data foundations. And here are some examples of some of the organizations that have leveraged data to their advantage, and they're really innovating. BMW is a great case study of modern data community in action. Their organization, with their data platform, processing over 10 terabytes of data from 1.2 million vehicles daily. They have built in-car voice assistants. They capture the customer data and also the vehicle data, and they predict an issue with the vehicles before they even occur. What a great customer experience. But also it is an example of democratization of data at scale. At Rocket Mortgages, at the start of this whole peak of Gen AI hype, they have built an application that allows mortgage brokers and mortgage lenders and underwriters to collectively use the data and ask questions. So they have innovated in that front. And Booking.com, they've leveraged their customer data to transform the experiences of their customers when they were booking their travel experiences. So these are some of the great ways, but these things did not happen overnight. They were in the making. These are the organizations who were really focusing on all of the initiatives that were required. And when the technology was here, they were able to capture it and leverage to their advantage. And the second one is focus on business value. But what does value mean? It could mean anything, right? So let's go back to my first slide about proof of concepts and everybody trying to figure out what Gen AI could do for the organization. I would, as a mental model, maybe when you are thinking about a use case within your organization, think about it in 3 categories. First one, quick wins, right? Low risk, you're building something internally. It's all about employee productivity or using a tool for creativity, summarizations, insights. Or it could be knowledge management, and this is a great case study. A lot of organizations seem to be building applications for knowledge management, enterprise search. So it gives a productivity uplift. There might not be any ROI. That's because it is helping the organization's employees, employee engagement, and it's sort of removing friction in some of their day-to-day tasks. So think about that as a way for making employees happy and productive, right? And the second part is reshaping or optimizing business processes. You know your organization well. There are domain experts who understand the workflows. Could be finance, it could be marketing, it could be a customer experience or sales organization. And there is a way to optimize these business processes using Gen AI. And so you're basically extending a process or extending a function's productivity and reshaping it through Gen AI. And there is an efficiency lift here. And you can measure that value. Pre and post, you can start to have some sort of KPIs and to see where that could be delivering value. And then the third space, this is could be a long-term future. It is more about reshaping your business models, right? Radically coming up with a change of how an organization could work. And there is a slightly significant revenue lift. And that could take longer, but the risks are also higher, right? Not everybody is willing to bet on that. So when you're thinking about AI, when you're thinking about value, you may want to, in a mental model, think, where does this use case sit? So what is that value? What is the outcome that you're trying to achieve. And then comes to cost. 90% of CEOs, although they think AI is very important, they still think cost management is a major limiting factor for integrating this technology in their organization. And that is because when you're building a proof of concept, you're focusing a lot around what is the accuracy. You may be working with a small subset of static data, right? It is well managed. But the reality is when you start to move into production workloads, that's different. So it is all about model cost. It would be about infrastructure cost. It would be thinking about deployment, training, what are the development costs that are involved, and of course, operational cost. And the huge part of this to succeed is also the employee training. Do you have capable teams? You have to take all of those costs into consideration and do that when you're actually thinking about doing a proof of concept. Business value is first, right? What are you trying to gain out of this? And then the cost. What does it look like when it goes to production? What would that be? And then you can make an assessment whether it's worthy, that investment. You want to go ahead with that, or you're okay with the way the processes are or the products are. So mastering that cost and ROI balance is really important to get that value from your data. And then finally, agentic AI and human collaboration. So maybe I'll ask a question. How many of you think agentic AI is hype versus real? Real? Okay. Those who don't believe it, stay with me for now. we will get through this. So again, agents are extremely capable, intelligent, autonomous systems. They are able to plan, reason, and act. They can leverage the knowledge and brains of LLM, connect to your enterprise data, connect to the tools, and also perform actions. I recall many years ago, before even this Gen AI, I was working with an enterprise client on enterprise transformation. And we were talking about how exciting would it be if we automate the entire onboarding process of that organization. So from the start, giving an offer to the person to joining and getting their laptop, all of it automated, right? It is possible. And we were discussing about different ways that could be done, what are the systems, workflows, and how to make that happen. And the great thing I learned from that leader at that time, because I was very excited, yes, let's do it, it's going to be very transformative, was that we need to be careful how this would be perceived in the organization, because not everybody is a desk worker or sits at the desk and tries doing these workflows. There are others in the organization whose awareness of AI, understanding of AI is very different. So we need to actually ensure first, before we do any of these AI automation transformation, that there is a certain level of knowledge and understanding about what technology is, how you can use that technology in your day-to-day life and your work life. And once we get there, we will get adoption. That stayed with me. I'm coming from a very technical lens, but that people lens, that change management, that organizational adoption lens was very powerful, and that stayed with me. So even when we talk about evolution of agents, now you have conversational agents that are enabled by AI. Then you have task-based agents. They will perform a task with you. And then you, of course, have goal-seeking agents who would be doing a lot more complicated things like, they can run code, they can change the code, transfers, various other things. But this is an example as well of an organization that has literally transformed their existing contact center through AI. And this is an example of Adur Dash, where Dashers, as they call, they were equipped with a voice-enabled interaction with their contact center because they're always on the move. So it is a voice-to-voice interaction, and they have automated the entire contact management system, so they get responses immediately with less than a few seconds of latency for all of the questions. And so this has really improved the productivity, it has reduced the errors, and also like quick customer experience for their dashers. But the reality is, as our CEO, Andy Jassy, says, the problems are not technical. Most of the problems are cultural, leadership, and process-oriented. And how do you focus on that? And the first thing is, when you're thinking about scaling or expanding into production workloads, think about what is your operating model. Who owns what, and how does that interact? Who is governing it? Who is monitoring it? And who is responsible for skills development? Now, if agentic AI becomes real, it will, I believe so, it is going to transform how we do our daily jobs. There's going to be a transformation around our future of work. Your teammate could be an agent. They would be doing all the data analysis for you, summarizing. They could be your brainstorming buddy. How does that world look like? Most of the organizations are not well equipped to deal with that. And that really starts with having some sort of AI literacy programs, rethinking about workflows and daily work, rethinking about jobs, career growth, and how you incorporate that AI in a daily work. And that is what I call strategic integration, bringing those two elements together. A change management component is quite important. And of course, central to everything is responsible AI. I cannot finish this conversation without talking about responsible AI. And that is because any system that you build, you need to use data that is not biased. You need to ensure that the outputs of the AI tools are used in an ethical and a responsible way, as well as how you build these systems need to be transparent. And that is very important. And finally, this technology is still at an early stage. Things are changing rapidly, so keep your eyes open, experiment, innovate, leverage your domain experts, focus on your staff. But most importantly, at Amazon, we always say, we work backwards from the customer. Who is your customer, and what challenges are you solving for them? Listen and enable. And there's no one size that fits everybody. You can also evaluate build versus buy. So in closing, start small, think big, scale fast, and you have an advantage because it is still at an early stage. Thank you.